So I told Khalid I wanted to wait a couple of years to do this. So,
Okay.
but this officially means I'm old. I think.
No,
Yeah.
this just means you're important.
It means old. So I'm Mike Hughes. I'm associate campus minister. I'm not much into titles, but I assist in the campus ministry office. I started here in 1985, and I was hired as the school's first Christian service director. So I did that for 7 years, while at the same time I taught theology. And after about 22 years here, I decided to go into more leadership roles. And so I wouldn't recommend this job. I was part-time assistant athletic director, and the other half-time I was the activities director. So it was, both of those were at that time part-time roles. And so I was here like every night. If I wasn't running a dance or organizing a club or some activity, I was here for sports. And I did that for a short amount of time until the athletic director position opened up. I applied for that, and I did that for 18 years. The one consistent during all that, I was always teaching theology, even as Christian service director, even as athletic director, I taught theology. The main consistent is for 41 years here, I've worked in the campus ministry office. So when I was at University of Portland, I was doing youth ministry part-time and got my degree in theology, and so I started out as a youth minister. Coincidentally, there was this parish out in East Portland, St. Therese Parish, where this guy named Don Clark was the youth minister. And he was moving back to South Bend, Indiana, and so I applied for the job and I followed in the footsteps of this Don Clark character. And worked there for 2 years. And my second year working at St. Therese, I got this call from Dick Gedros, my principal at Jesuit High School. And so I started here in the fall of 1985. My dream when I was as a youth minister in a parish is someday, 20 years from now, I hope to work at a high school and teach theology and coach. And then all of a sudden, a year later, I'm working full-time in a high school teaching theology and directing the Christian service program and coaching track. And my career was on its way thanks to Dick Gedros and John Nagelman. The advice I would give to new teachers, probably the advice I gave often to new coaches, because I hired dozens, if not over 100 new coaches. And one, obviously want to be yourself, but Jesuit is known for setting the bar high. The students will rise to the level of expectations that you set for them. And so not to be afraid to have high standards. And you'll be amazed how the students will rise to those standards. The other aspect I gave to, advice I gave to new coaches and we give to new teachers is to constantly reflect on what are the values, what are the life skills that you're teaching. Yes, we want to teach, to a new coach, we want to teach the X's and O's, the skills and drills, the technique and tactics. But you also want to teach life skills. What does it mean to be an athlete, for example? Or to a teacher, a young teacher, I might say, yes, you're going to teach all the technical part of all the academic part of your course. And then you're also going to teach them how to be a better student. So you're going to teach note-taking or how to organize their time. But more than that, hopefully you're going to that third level of teaching, which is how do you make them better human beings? How do you make them better children of God for the kingdom? So the values that are behind them, honesty, integrity, courage, fortitude, those are life skills that we want to teach beyond just the academics. So I love Ignatian spirituality, and I love everything about St. Ignatius and his life. But in addition to that, for the first 30 years of teaching here at Jesuit, I would spend a week up at Mount Angel Abbey and studying Benedictine spirituality and doing the Liturgy of the Hours with the monks and stuff. And it was at actually kind of this conference, this kind of intergenerational family camp, if you will, that I was a team member on. And one of my roles for about 15 of those years, I was the rec director. And there was always a 2-hour break after lunch from 1 to 3, and I would set up the field. Now, the rec director before me, she would just throw a couple balls out. And kids would come out, and the kids being kids, there would maybe 100 kids. They'd go out there, they'd run around for a couple hours and have fun. It was fine. It was okay. But when I took over, just kind of my personality is, I would set up the field, and it's like, well, if they're gonna play soccer, it's more fun to play with goals. So I'd walk all the way down to the gym, I'd get the portable goals, bring them up, I'd take cones, I'd make the outline of a field, the sidelines. And then people like to play volleyball, so I'd set up a volleyball net. But then, it's a lot more fun to have the ropes with the lines, so you know if a ball's in and out. And then I also noticed, a lot of times when we're playing volleyball, if there's like adults wanting to play, but there's like a 5 or 6-year-old, it kind of ruins the game. So right next to that court, I put a little net with a beach ball so the kids could play. And then over where there was usually some bubbles, I'm like, bubbles are fine for little kids, but let's put out a slip and slide with the sprinkler. And yeah, it takes a lot more time to set up, but then I would just kind of sit back, and then 1 o'clock would hit, and these 100 kids and their parents would come out, and they were just playing for hours, just having a great time. And I kind of felt I was kind of like an artist. I just kind of set up the field, I would kind of painted beforehand, and then the magic happened because I put extra effort in. And to me, that's the kind of leader that I am. And there's lots of kinds of leaders, but Sandy Satterberg, a longtime principal here, talked a lot about servant leadership, and she actually had us read several books on that. And there's actually a quote right now above my desk in the campus ministry office, and I've had above my desk, about servant leadership and the idea that you just kind of do the behind the scenes stuff. And I actually have it here, I don't have it memorized, but this is part of the quote. A leader is best when people barely knows he or she exists. But a leader who talks little and the work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say, we did it ourselves. And so that sense of servant leadership taught to me by Sandy Satterberg is the kind of leadership I've always aspired to. I quickly learned at Jesuit, I wasn't the smartest guy in the room by far. I certainly wasn't the best looking guy in the room. I wasn't the loudest guy in the room, but I could be one of the hardest working people in the room. And that's been my style of leadership, just hard work, going the extra mile, and then just sitting back and let other people shine. Servant leadership. Campus ministry program, I think, is the heart of our school. There's a lot of great college prep schools out there. But campus ministry kind of embodies our mission and our vision for our students and for our world. And I for 41 years working in the campus ministry program has been, for me, all about the kingdom of God. And that's a phrase we don't use that often. When I taught theology, sometimes when I was teaching particularly the parables, I would ask my students, okay, what's the number one phrase that Jesus used? And students would raise their hand, love, and I had a concordance there that had the words, and I love, love, you use love 21 times. Abba, Father, yeah, that was a good one. 71 times Jesus used that. Forgiveness, 12 times, yeah, that's good. Finally, they would never get it. And I say the number one phrase that Jesus used was the kingdom of God. And all of his parables. Then I started to say the parables. The kingdom of God is like a mustard seed. The kingdom of God is like a sower that went out to sow seed. And they're like, oh, yeah. I go, so what is that? And then we'd spend time studying the kingdom of God. And I think at Jesuit, that's what we're about. And certainly campus ministry is part of that. We all play a role in bringing about the kingdom of God. And we try to give students a vision of a place where they're accepted, they're loved, they're in relationship with themselves, with others, and with God. And there are some that say, oh no, we should send them back to their parish, get them involved. And we do that. We try to do it. We try to get them involved in their parish or their synagogue or whatever their place of worship is. But I think we try to give them a glimpse of the kingdom of God while they're here for 4 years. And then hopefully when they're at college, there's going to be that yearning in their heart, like, what was that? And where can I find that? And they hopefully will search that out, that sense of a beloved community. And that's what we try to do in campus ministry. I think some of the moments where we've really shined have been sometimes in the darkest moments. I can remember being out in Father Hayes Plaza with the students the day after 9/11, and it was silent because there was very few cars, and we were leading a prayer service with them, and then military jets broke the silence and were flying overhead. And just the message that we gave to the students of comfort but also of hope was a profound moment. There have tragically been deaths of our community, and the compassion, the care, and not offering sound bites but just a sense of entering into the sadness with them and reminding them that our God suffered too, and that our God knows our pain, and our God is there with us. And not trying to take away their pain, but just offering them comfort and solitude. My advice for any parents or teachers is just be a teacher when you're a teacher, and maybe you let your spouse talk to the teachers, because I just never want to be that parent that would go talk to a teacher about a grade or something like that. And usually when I was athletic director, I would give the parents what I call the 48-hour rule. If you're upset about playing time, you're upset about something that happened, or you heard something, don't fire off that email right then. Wait 48 hours. And you know what? 99 out of 100 times, it wasn't that big of a deal. And then if it is a big deal, I would tell the parents, have your child practice good communication skills. And it's going to be hard for them. And have your child go talk to the coach. And that was the advice I gave myself when my child was here as a student. It's like if they still, after a couple days, were grumbling about something, so we'll go talk to the teacher. They're great people. Just, start, I can't do that. Well, then it must not be that big of a deal. And that was the advice I gave my children all these years. And if it was important, they went and talked to their coach or their teacher, but most of the time they just let it slide, because it was, they just needed a vent. And being a student is emotional, and just let them vent, love them, but I wouldn't go talk to the teachers or coaches about things. Well, in 41 years at Jesuit High School, I've noticed what we do well is stay true to the mission. And I know a lot of organizations or even schools have a mission statement, and it's gathering dust on a shelf somewhere, but I think we really honor it and we look at it. And I've literally been in dozens, if not hundreds, of meetings, because I used to go to all the academic meetings where a proposal for a new course, or some crisis would happen, and there would always be people in the room, often Don Clark, but others would say, what does our mission say? He would literally ask that question in the middle of a discussion, or others would, and it's like, okay, what are our core values, and how are we living those out? And I think we've been faithful to that over the decades. The other thing that, and I mentioned this once before, but that I think is rung true for a Jesuit is to set the bar high and to recognize the students rise to the level of expectations you set for them. And I think we need to be there for all students of all academic needs and abilities. But I don't think we should ever lower our academic standards or lower our athletic standards or our rigor, that there is a academic standard and a rigor here at Jesuit as a college prep school that has served us well, and I think has served our students well, and we've been faithful to that. We talk a lot about community, and the community was different when we were a smaller 450, 500 all boys. It was a different era. It was a different school, and there was a community there. But I think even though we've grown to 1,200, almost 1,300 students, co-ed, I still think we maintain that community. And it's intentional. All the community days, all the stuff that Aaron DeClotz does with, welcoming students, and everything we do in the first couple weeks of school, and everything that Lauren Lakey does with student government and the clubs. And I think we have to be intentional about that. We have to be deliberate about that. But I think we are, and that's really important. And then our Catholicity. I don't think we should ever apologize for being a Catholic school. And I think we do it. Those that live here know that. I think we do that. And I think, our Muslim, our Hindu, our Jewish students, I think they feel welcome here. I really do. I think they feel honored. But at the same time, we are a Catholic school, and we don't apologize to that. And so we have weekly liturgy, and we have our retreat program. And so I think we always need to be faithful to our Catholicity while welcoming people. And it's possible to do both, because I see it every day. We do both. So those are 4 key principles I think that we've done well over the years, and I would hope that we keep those going. I think, and being asked to do this retrospective, as I said, does this mean I'm getting old? True story though, when I discovered I was truly getting old, was my daughter Alyssa. She graduated in 2019, and it was her sophomore year, and she was in the track program. And I had a long time, for over 20 years, I coached track, and I would often run with them and do wind sprints with them and demonstrate in the triple jump and long jump, because I did that in high school and college and all that. And so I came back from a jog. I'm in my shorts, and it's a sunny afternoon in late April, and they're doing like repeat 50s. And I'm sitting there talking to the track coach, and there's my daughter as a sophomore in high school. And I said, hey, let me race you. And so there's a group of 10 of us doing the next. And try as I might, and I was a high school and college sprinter, school record holder in both high school and college. She beat me in a 50-yard sprint. So I immediately went to my locker and grabbed my phone and texted the family. It's like, I'm officially old now. I was so proud of her. But I realized I was getting old. So maybe doing this retrospective is another sign of that. Another thing, talking about daughters, that has been a joy that I didn't anticipate of teaching at Jesuit is you're going to edit out some of this, right?
Sure.
A great joy is Kayla coming back. And teaching here. It's just been something I didn't anticipate. I mean, she applied and got the job, but just to see my own daughter here and see her in the hallways and sit with her at faculty meetings and talk to her about the school, and it's just a great, a lot of fun, and just love teaching with her. True story, there are many times that a student will come up to me and say, "Oh, Mr. Hughes, I have your daughter, Kayla, as a health teacher. She's my favorite teacher all time." And then I'll pause and look at him and say, "Wait a minute, I taught you as a sophomore in theology." And then they realize they're like what they just said, and they're like, well, Mr. Hughes, you're my second best teacher." I had too late, and I tease them, but my heart would be swelling with joy because Kayla is such a great teacher, and people tell me that all the time. So it's great to teach with her, just the fellowship and the fun, but it's also know that that she's such a great teacher and is beloved by her students. There's a lot of fun in that. After 41 years here at Jesuit, a lot of people say, well, you have your work-life balance and you have your work, but you have your life. And I'm very involved in a church community, an intentional community, and I have a lot of friends, and we have our poker nights, and we travel together with friends, and I do have a life outside of school. But I also am not afraid to say that some of my best friends teach here at Jesuit High School, and that Jesuit is not just my work, but it is also in many ways my faith community, and in many ways my social community. But there are such talented, smart, brilliant, funny teachers here. It is my honor to call them my friends. And some of them I hang out with outside of school time. And that work-life balance, I think, gets blurred here. And I think that's okay at times.